first question tonight deals with docket management. The 22nd Judicial District has a very busy docket. As with many district courts, cases are routinely dismissed because a case becomes so old that witnesses have moved out of the district or moved out of contact. Many cases have multiple resets because either the defendant or the district attorney is not ready. As the manager of the docket of the 22nd Judicial District, how are you going to manage this problem so that victims in Hays County receive proper justice? We'll begin with this side of the table for the first question, and then we'll begin from the other side of the table for the second question. Ronnie Dickens is up first.
Well, we have a lot of help in that regard. We have a new person. The last person worked for many, many years, Ramsey and the rest of the judges, and he keeps up with the criminal side of the docket because there's some extra circumstances there, but those have to be heard. But pre-trial, to me, is the way to do that. There are a lot of judges who watch the docket and see what they can get done. It's a particular problem here because we have so many judges coming from so many places, and also the dockets are concurrent jurisdiction between the 22nd, the two, I forget the number, 208 and 274, I think. Anyway, the way to do it is just stay on top of it. There are people that work with you, get the criminal cases done, and then get as many of those as you can. But I really believe that pre-trial is the way to do that, because if you have a chance of settling cases, you know, we're Republicans, we believe in being efficient and saving money, and any time that we can get a case settled, especially a personal injury case, that will take 2 weeks of trying a jury time, it's very expensive to the county, and it's often not as good a result as if you could just get it together and try to get the case done. Now, one of my opponents says, well, they've got mediators, they've got all that, but the judge, if you're a judge with experience and you've done these kind of cases like I have in all the areas, then you should be able to set the parties down and say, we're pre-trial, what can we do about this? And I think a lot of the cases are settled in this county doing that already, because like you've heard that there's more criminal cases than there are. I've checked with the district clerk's office within the last hour, and it's like 2 to 1 civil cases filed, and that means that those judges, if you get elected with no civil experience, you're going to have 60% of the law at least that you don't know anything about. But if you try all these cases and you've gone through it yourself on the discovery, and you can hold the lawyer's feet to the fire and make them get these cases done, no one is successful in court unless your case is done efficiently, it gets done, and you get the people to resolve their problem and go to the next one. Thanks.
There's nobody more important than the victims of the cases that are criminal cases, and the parties who are the citizens who are before you in the courtroom. The attorneys need to be held accountable. It's just that simple. They need to have their feet held to the fire, just like Ronnie said. But you do that through sanctions, you do that through the codes of procedure, and you make sure that they don't abuse the discovery process. You make sure that if they are the ones paying for it, not their clients. You can do that. You can fine, you can sanction. You need to hold attorneys' feet to the fire and keep the cases moving. It's as simple as that. Parties come first, and the victims come first.
Well, there are a lot of reasons for slow dockets. Some of the problems lie with law enforcement not getting their reports to the district attorney's office. Sometimes district attorneys are overworked. I know that's often a problem. But I have Judge Ramsey's docket here from 15th of March. There were 5 civil cases and 35 criminal cases. And again, I'll compliment Judge Ramsey on the way he handles his docket. But it's a balancing act. You have to be fair to the defense so they have a proper opportunity to get their act together, the documents, the information they need to defend the criminal or the accused. And you have to be fair to the state. But the state has a whole lot more resources typically in the district attorney's office. I agree with some of what Ronnie said, that you can do this a lot with pre-trial. But when your district attorney won't return a phone call to the defense counsel, that's difficult. So I think it's going to take a lot more cooperation among all the parties involved, and it can be done.
as the only person up here who's been a misdemeanor and/or felony criminal trial lawyer full-time for 17 years, my responsibilities as a prosecutor under the law and under the Constitution are that I have to try my cases by the rules, or I lose my evidence, I lose my witnesses, and potentially a guilty man goes free. If I don't file documents on time, Judge Henry doesn't let them into the trial, and if those are really good documents against my defendant, my case is messed up. Now, I've been doing this since I was 26 years old, and prosecutors tend to be the youngest lawyers in the legal community because it's a first job out of law school job. If I can do this for 17 years, know that when I go to court, if I don't have my act together, I can lose my case, and it's all on me. And I tell my kids this all the time. When they get a missing assignment, my wife and I have a conversation with them at the dinner table and say, you know what, if I don't turn my papers in, the judge isn't going to let me use them in my trial. Okay? Now let me explain that 2-to-1 civil cases figure. I know that number. Those are filed cases. And yet, although criminal cases account for 1/3 of all cases in a district court, they account for 80% of what's happening on a daily basis, because civil cases and family cases get directed out. What you can do in criminal cases is you can hold the prosecutor's feet to the fire. You can hold the defense attorney's feet to the fire too, with refusing continuances when it goes on. And that gets criminals into the courtroom. And you can apply these same principles to civil lawsuits and family lawsuits, to all lawyers. If it's good enough for one segment, for the criminal prosecutors, that they have to abide by rules with time and dates, then it should be good enough for all lawyers, and it should help move the dockets along. And that's what I stand for, and that's what I believe.
Hays County is the largest county in the 22nd Judicial District. Given that you'll be practicing, you will no longer be practicing in Hays County, but deciding cases in Hays County, what is your professional experience in Hays County that qualifies you to become judge of the 22nd Judicial District?
Well, at the end of the day, the judicial system in Texas operates under the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure and the Texas Rules of Evidence. I've been practicing. Let me correct what David said, and it was a slight, I know, but I've been practicing in almost over 100 counties for 11 years, and I practiced in Williamson County for 6 years before that. I have a lot of experience in Williamson County as a prosecutor in a courtroom working with attorneys from the big city next to us, which was Austin at the time. Same thing applies not only in Hays County with the Austin lawyers who come down, but in Comal County with the San Antonio lawyers who come up to there to practice. Now, in Hays County, over the last 2 years, I've handled several cases. I still haven't had a trial, but I took a case that there was a pool contractor who had ripped off people from Temple to Corpus Christi and included our area, and we took that case over from the local district attorneys by agreement. They asked us in, and we tried to build a case against him so we could assess a first-degree felony against him. When that didn't happen, we prosecuted him and sent him to prison in Lockhart. We went down to New Braunfels and put him on probation when he gets out of prison, owing his victims $100,000 restitution. And that covered the victims of the case that were living in Wimberley at the time as well. And they got to make victim impact statements. I currently had a case that I can't talk too much about. It was under indictment. But we have an agency policy that when you're running for office in an area, you can't handle cases in that area. So this case I had for the last over a year, I indicted with a Texas Ranger by a Hays County grand jury. I had to hand it off to a coworker because of this election. So vote for me and I won't have it back.
I don't know what y'all know about the traveling of the judges, but Judge Ramsey travels to New Braunfels, Lockhart. Judge Robinson from New Braunfels travels. Judge Steele travels to Hays County from New Braunfels. Everybody has a home office, but we all kind of travel around. I've handled cases from Bandera to Travis County to Caldwell, New Braunfels, San Antonio, Bexar County. And Most recently, the cases that I've handled here in Hayes County have been in county court, mostly misdemeanor cases. Just haven't had any felony cases in district court. Done some family law cases of magistrate in Hayes County, but I get up here probably about once a month to Hayes County. The other courts in those counties bear to Mandara.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, David's already mentioned the rules are the same. There are state rules of procedure, Texas rules of procedure that in both the criminal and civil cases that dictate what happens in our courtrooms. David Nye has also mentioned that the judges are the same judges outside of Judge Henry and Judge Walter in Comal County and Judge Murbaugh over in Caldwell County. Yes, I remember Caldwell County. At any rate, you know, the rules are the same. The issues are all, they're going to be fairly much the same as well. You know, Toy and I spent a lot of time coming up to Hayes County, trying to meet with you all, learn your issues, learn what's going on. It's no secret, yes, that my practice has been pretty much come out in Hayes County. Of course, we do a lot of real estate business up in this area as well. But from a trial point of view, yes, out of the 4 people up here, I'm probably the least, had the least amount of cases in this county in the last several years. But once again, it's not about the lawyers. It's about the people. It's about the citizens. It's about what your issues are. In that regard, I still have the most experience in dealing with folks, not only as mayor, but also as an attorney and as a businessman, and knowing what your issues are going to be when you come before the court. So I still believe that I have a breadth of experience to manage this court in a way that's consistent with what we've done in the past and what this county needs, along with Comal and Caldwell counties. Thank you.
Well, I've practiced from El Paso to Jasper and from Amarillo all the way to Deep South Texas. And Hayes County is one of the best places to practice and live. And that was before we got this Taj Mahal, brand new nice courthouse that just opened up. And but the question was about Hayes County. I'm kind of in the background these days. I'm kind of getting to be the old guy. I've been 30 years. I get typically for the last 10 years, I get a call in the middle of the night. Someone's dad got killed in a car wreck. I start working with trying to gather evidence just like the insurance and their lawyers do. And we end up getting the case done. And I've done cases in the last few years that involved a lot of money. And you know, when you figure out what somebody's life was worth and insurance is involved, it's really a hard case. And that's why I'm pressing that on these civil cases. Several of the people up here have not ever done a civil case. And these are very, very hard cases to do. You file them, you got discovery. I've done all this in Hayes County. And so what I do is I settle a case for $1.5 million, $1 million. Those are all usually 7-figure cases. But I take care of the family for many months, sometimes years. And we try to get everything back together. We do everything except bring the dad back. But in Hayes County, I like the people. They're fair. They'll take care of you. That's why I live. Pam and I got married here in 1972. Next week we will have been married 40 years. And I'm going to quit with that. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, your candidates for 22nd District Judge, Bruce Boyer, Ronnie Dickens, David Glickler, and David Nye.